The chamber of the Galactic Council shimmered with golden light, its ceilings painted with constellations that spanned the known galaxy. Species from 100 worlds filled the tiered seats, their voices a constant murmur of arrogance and complacency. Here, under the watch of the council, they had grown fat and complacent, ruling in the illusion of peace. But the illusion shattered when the air quaked with a thunderous tremor. The stars outside the citadel twisted, and space itself screamed. A fleet had breached the council's restricted zone, a feat thought impossible. And not just any fleet, humans. The council chamber fell silent as the humans arrived. Their ships were not elegant like the fractal crystal cruisers of the Zal, nor graceful like the living biovessels of the Sarai. No, human ships were angular, brutal constructs of steel and fire. Scars ran along their hulls, proof of countless battles fought not in simulation chambers, but in the crucible of survival. A massive dreadnought, black as midnight and bristling with weapons, locked into orbit. From its underbelly, shuttles speared downward like meteors. The chamber doors blew open. Humans entered, armored soldiers with visors glowing red, their boots echoing on marble. Behind them strode Admiral Marcus Hale, his gaze sharp as a blade, his uniform scorched and patched from real war. "You were not invited," hissed High Chancellor Valen, a towering insectoid whose mandibles clicked in fury. Marcus smirked. "That's the thing about humans, Chancellor. We don't wait for invitations. We make entrances." A ripple of outrage surged through the chamber. Species hissed, growled, and buzzed their protests. "You are exiles," another delegate shrieked. "You were cast out for being dangerous, for spreading chaos wherever you tread." Marcus walked steadily to the center of the chamber, his soldiers fanning out like shadows. "Dangerous?" he said, voice echoing. "You sit here in your ivory tower, ruling with decrees, sending fleets to keep the peace while you've never known war. You call us dangerous because we fight, because we survive. But we came here today not for your approval, but for the truth." Before the council could answer, the citadel shook violently. At first it felt like a tremor, a simple quake in orbit. But then the star outside dimmed, its light devoured by a vast shadow. The murals of constellations painted on the chamber ceiling flickered, as if the cosmos itself had gone dark. Then came the sound. A deep, resonant vibration that rattled the bones of every being in the chamber. Delegates clutched their ears, their sensory organs spasming in panic. The Great Council's defenses triggered automatically, shields rising, weapons arming. But none of it mattered. Outside, eclipsing the citadel, was a living void. A creature vast beyond reason, its body like liquid darkness woven with stars. Limbs of tendrils unfurled across space, wrapping around the citadel as if tasting it. Where its eyes should be, there was only an abyss, a hunger older than time itself. The predator above all had awakened. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Leaders screamed at each other, demanding evacuation. Fleets scrambled to form a perimeter, but the predator swatted their ships aside like gnats. The council, those who had ruled for millennia, were reduced to terrified children. Marcus Hale alone stood calm, his jaw set, eyes fixed on the monster. One counselor shrieked at him, "This is your doing. You brought it here." Marcus didn't flinch. "No," he said coldly. "This is what you've been running from for centuries. Pretending your laws and treaties could keep it away. But humans, we've seen its shadows. We've fought its spawn. And we came prepared." With a gesture, he activated his comms. Human fleets moved in perfect coordination. Dreadnoughts repositioned, carriers launched swarms of drones, and battleships angled their weapons at the living void. Open fire. The void lit up with fury. Humanity's arsenal unleashed. Plasma storms tore across the predator's hide, dark matter warheads detonated like collapsing suns, railgun slugs pierced the void with blinding velocity. Where the council's fleets crumbled in terror, humanity stood its ground. The predator above all roared, its voice a vibration that shattered shields and cracked hulls. It struck back, tendrils slicing through ships, devouring entire squadrons in one sweep. Yet the humans adapted, shifting formations, counterattacking with precision. The chamber's delegates watched in awe and horror. The council, once masters of the galaxy, cowered while the exiled humans fought the unthinkable. Admiral Marcus turned toward them, his voice steady even as the monster battered his fleets. "You call us dangerous. You're right. We are. But dangerous is exactly what you need if you want to survive this." The predator lashed at the citadel itself, its tendrils breaking through the outer shields. The chamber walls shook, dust raining from the gilded ceiling. Some delegates fled, others collapsed in despair. But Marcus only smirked, eyes narrowing as data streamed across his wrist console. "Target locked," he muttered. From the human dreadnought, a weapon powered up, one unlike anything the galaxy had seen. A gravity spear forged from collapsed star matter, designed for one purpose, to pierce gods. The chamber windows darkened as the spear fired. A beam of condensed annihilation tore into the predator's core. The creature howled, the void rippling in pain. It writhed, its tendrils retracting, its body spasming as if reality itself sought to expel it. With one last bellow, the predator broke apart, fragments of darkness scattering like ash into the void. Silence fell. The citadel hung damaged but intact. Council fleets floated in ruins, their once proud warships shattered. And in the heart of it all, human ships remained in formation, battered yet unbroken. The delegates stared at Marcus Hale, their fear shifting into something else, respect and dread. "You," whispered Chancellor Valen, trembling. "You killed it." Marcus stepped closer, his boots echoing on the fractured marble floor. He looked around the chamber, his gaze heavy on each species who had once mocked humanity. "No," he corrected, his voice a low growl. "We survived it. That's the difference between you and us. You run from monsters. We hunt them." The chamber fell into stunned silence. For the first time in its history, the Galactic Council had no words, no decrees, no power. The illusion of their supremacy was shattered. And in its place stood humanity, scarred, dangerous, and proven. Marcus turned, signaling his soldiers. "The age of your council is over. The galaxy doesn't need rulers who hide behind laws. It needs predators who can stand against the darkness." He glanced once more at the void where the creature had been. His smirk returned, sharp and cold. "Remember this day. The predator above all has fallen, and humans were the ones who brought it down." With that, the humans departed, their fleets pulling away, leaving silence in their wake. The council, broken and trembling, now faced a galaxy that would never look at humans the same way again. They were no longer exiles. They were the predators above all. The Galactic Council was not used to being challenged. For 10,000 years, its citadel above the twin suns of Viora had been a fortress of power, a place where the galaxy's rulers gathered to dictate the fates of billions. Within its halls, arrogance thrived. They thought themselves supreme. They thought no race could rise without their sanction. And they thought humanity, exiled centuries ago, was gone forever. They were wrong. The council session had begun as usual. The amphitheater was alive with the chatter of alien voices, insectoid mandibles clattering, gelatinous bodies vibrating, crystalline delegates humming in tones too high for human ears. Chancellor Dioroval of the Vela pounded his staff against the dais, silencing the chamber. "Order," he declared. "We convene to discuss the expansion of the mining accords in." The floor shook. The stars beyond the great glass dome rippled as if bent by invisible hands. A shadow fell across the citadel, vast and angular. And then the alarm screamed. A fleet had breached the no-entry zone, bypassing defenses as though they were nothing. The chamber gasped as the intruders appeared on the holoscreens, human warships. Unlike the sleek, living vessels of the Council's races, human ships were forged from raw function. Steel. Armor. Endless batteries of weapons. They were ugly things, scarred and battle-worn, but they radiated a singular aura the others lacked: purpose. At the heart of the formation, a black dreadnought loomed, dwarfing the escorts around it. The ship bore no flag of peace, no emblem of diplomacy. Its presence alone was declaration enough. Earth had returned. The chamber doors burst open. Armored boots struck the polished floor, red visors burning through the chamber haze. Human soldiers marched in formation, flanking a man in a dark uniform. Admiral Elias Karan, broad-shouldered, face-cut with the lines of war. He strode to the center dais without pause, his presence filling the hall like a storm. "You dare!" shrieked Chancellor Duroval, his crystalline body vibrating with outrage. "Humans are forbidden in this chamber. You are exiles." Admiral Karan's voice rolled through the chamber like thunder. "Exiles, yes, but not forgotten. And not weak. We came not for your approval, counselors, but for our place in the galaxy you tried to deny us." An uproar broke out. Delegates shouted over one another, some calling for the humans' arrest, others demanding immediate evacuation. A few, however, sat silent, watching with unreadable expressions. Then the floor shook again. Not from human weapons. From something far, far older. The holoscreens flickered as sensors went haywire. The twin suns outside dimmed, their light swallowed by a vast darkness that seemed to bleed across space itself. And then the Predator came. It did not arrive in a ship, nor through any means the Council could comprehend. It simply was a colossal mass of shadow and stars, as if a piece of the void itself had taken form. Tendrils stretched across the system, blotting out light. Its presence pressed against the minds of all who saw it, a hunger endless and suffocating. The Predator above all had returned to feed. Panic erupted. The Council chamber dissolved into chaos as delegates shrieked and clawed for escape. Fleets scrambled to engage, but the Predator swatted them aside effortlessly. Ships that had stood for centuries of ceremonial posturing burned in moments. The Council's illusion of control shattered instantly. And amidst it all, Admiral Karan stood still. His eyes locked on the holoscreen, where the vast, star-devouring shape filled the sky. He activated his calm humanity engage. The human fleet responded at once. Dreadnoughts shifted into formation, carriers launched swarms of drones, battleships angled their weapons toward the abyss. Where the Council scattered like prey, the humans moved like hunters. The first salvo roared. Railguns hurled slugs the size of skyscrapers. Plasma torpedoes streaked into the void, detonating like newborn stars. Drones swarmed across the Predator's tendrils, latching on and detonating in coordinated bursts. The beast roared, a vibration that shook the Citadel's very foundations. It struck back, tendrils of living void lashing through human squadrons, devouring entire cruisers. But the humans adapted. They shifted formations, countered, exploited weaknesses where none should exist. In the Council chamber, delegates watched in awe and horror. Where their fleets had shattered, humanity stood its ground. "This is madness," whispered one elder of the Sarai. "They are provoking it. They are fighting it." Karan's gaze swept the chamber. "You've lived in fear of this thing. You built your council to hide from it. You cast us out because we didn't fear like you did. But we've seen its children. We've fought them in the dark corners of the galaxy while you pretended peace was eternal. And now, we face the parent." The Predator surged forward, wrapping its tendrils around the Citadel itself. The walls groaned, metal screaming. Delegates shrieked as shards of crystal rained down. But Admiral Karan only smiled grimly. "Steady," he ordered into his comm, "deploy the harpoon." From the dreadnought's hull, panels opened. A massive weapon emerged, a gravity lance forged from collapsed star matter designed for this one purpose. "Lock target," Karan commanded. On the holoscreen the weapon fired. A beam of compressed annihilation tore through the void, piercing deep into the Predator's core. The creature writhed, its roar breaking minds across the chamber. It lashed out, devouring human ships, shredding drones, but the humans pressed harder, every sacrifice calculated, every strike coordinated. The battle raged for what felt like eternity. Finally, with one last furious howl, the Predator fractured. Its body split into shards of shadow, scattering into the cosmos like burning ash. Silence followed. The Citadel floated battered but alive. The Council fleets lay in ruins, reduced to twisted debris. Only the human formation remained intact, scarred, broken, but victorious. Admiral Karan turned back to the chamber. The delegates stared at him, their expressions a mixture of terror and awe. "You," one whispered. "You killed it." Karan shook his head. "We didn't kill it. We fought it. We bled for it. And we survived." His voice hardened. "That's the difference between humans and you. You flee from predators. We become them." The words hung in the chamber like a death sentence. For the first time in history, the Galactic Council bowed not to itself, but to humanity. Not out of respect but out of fear. The Predator above all was not gone forever. It would return. And when it did, the galaxy knew only one species would stand ready. Not the Council. Not the empires of old. Humans. The galaxy's new predators. The Galactic Council had gathered in full splendor. The Citadel of Unity, a station carved from a hollowed moon, glimmered with crystalline spires that reached into the void. Thousands of species attended, scaled monarchs in gold-threaded robes, insectoid queens with glittering carapaces, serpentine orators coiled on marble. The chamber brimmed with confidence and pomp, for here was the seat of galactic power. Here they believed no threat could reach them. The Chancellor raised his many-fingered hands for silence. "This summit shall mark another age of peace, bound under the Council's eternal law." But before his words could settle, the chamber trembled. The air thrummed with static. Holoscreens across the chamber flickered, confused. Outside the Citadel's great windows, space twisted, gravity itself bending under a surge of warping drives. Then came the fleet. Humanity's fleet. Dark, angular ships broke from the void like beasts released from a cage. Scarred hulls, jagged armor, engines that howled with the scars of war. The largest, a dreadnought so vast it eclipsed the Council's suns, bore no banners of diplomacy, only weapons. The Council chamber erupted in panic. Impossible. They were exiled. Blockade. Form the defense grid. Humans cannot be here. But the truth could not be denied. Earth had returned. The chamber doors thundered open. Human soldiers poured inside, boots hammering against polished marble. Their visors glowed crimson, their weapons humming with restrained fury. Behind them strode Captain Avellini Rourke, cloak torn, armor scratched, eyes sharp with unbroken resolve. "You dare crash our summit?" roared a counselor, a serpentine diplomat. Humanity was cast out for its savagery. Rourke walked into the chamber center, unbowed. Cast out, yes. Betrayed more truthfully. You did not exile us because we were savage, you exiled us because you were afraid. The chamber hissed and buzzed with outrage. Afraid? Spat Chancellor Rinvor, his crystalline body refracting the chamber light. We are the Council. We fear nothing. Rourke's gaze was cold. Then tell them. Tell them why you banished us. Tell them of the hunter you knew would come. The reason you hid behind your walls while sending humanity into the dark to face it alone. A ripple of unease swept through the chamber. Delegates exchanged nervous glances. Whispers rose. The truth, buried for centuries, had been spoken aloud. But before the Chancellor could respond, the citadel shook violently. This was no human attack. Outside, the twin suns dimmed. A darkness spread across the system like a stain. From the void, it emerged. A living abyss, vast beyond comprehension. Its form rippled with stars devoured and extinguished, its tendrils coiling through the cosmos like serpents of shadow. The predator above all had come. The chamber descended into chaos. Some delegates shrieked for retreat, others collapsed in despair. Fleets scrambled to form a defense, but their weapons struck uselessly against the monster's void-wrought flesh. One strike of its tendrils tore through a dozen ships at once. Rourke stood unmoving, her jaw set. She opened her comms. This is Captain Rourke. All units deploy. Phase the lines. Human fleets moved with chilling precision. Carriers released drone swarms in shimmering clouds. Dreadnoughts aligned, charging weapons forbidden by the Council's treaties. Orbital batteries hummed with stolen energy from collapsed stars. Where the Council scattered, humanity formed ranks. Rourke turned to the chamber, her voice cutting through the screams. You called us savages. Yet it was us you sent into the dark to face this thing's spawn. For centuries we hunted them, killed them, dissected them. We learned. We built. We bled. And now we are ready for the parent. The predator roared, a sound that ruptured shields and cracked stone. Tendrils lashed at the citadel, wrapping its spires and crushing them like paper. But humanity fought. Railgun slugs the size of towers pierced the void. Plasma storms erupted, detonating against tendrils. Gravity spears tore through the monster's hide, pinning it momentarily before it shredded them apart. The humans fought with fury unmatched, every loss answered with ruthless adaptation. The chamber's rulers watched in awe. The Council, the so-called masters of the galaxy, were powerless. But the outcasts, the feared and unwanted humans, stood unbroken against the impossible. The predator surged toward the citadel, jaws of void opening to devour the station whole. Rourke raised her wrist console. Final measure. Release it. From the human dreadnought, panels slid open to reveal a weapon of terrifying scale. A spear of condensed singularity, a weapon humanity had forged from centuries of secret war. The ether lance. The weapon fired. A beam of searing annihilation struck the predator's core. The creature writhed, its bellows shaking galaxies. It lashed out, consuming entire human ships in retaliation. But the humans did not falter. Squadron after squadron threw themselves into the maw, holding it long enough for the lance to fire again. And again. Each strike carved deeper, until the predator shuddered and split apart, its essence unraveling into the void. The chamber fell silent. Fragments of shadow drifted away, dissolving into nothing. The twin suns shone again. The predator above all was gone. But so too was half the human fleet, sacrificed in the struggle. Rourke lowered her console. Her soldiers stood beside her, armor scorched, eyes unyielding. She looked across the chamber at the trembling delegates, their robes torn, their illusions shattered. You hid this truth, she said coldly. You feared this predator and chose to cast humanity into its path, hoping we would be consumed instead of you. But we endured. We hunted. We adapted. And when the day came, we did not run. Chancellor Rinvor could only whisper, voice trembling. You destroyed it. Rourke's gaze sharpened. No. We proved we could survive it. That's what terrifies you most. Because now you know humanity isn't prey. We are predators too. The chamber sat in stunned silence. For the first time in its long reign, the council had no decree, no dominance. Their empire of fear was broken. Rourke turned, her cloak torn and blood-stained, but her voice unwavering. The council's age is ending. The galaxy doesn't need rulers who hide from the dark. It needs hunters who can face it. She glanced once more at the void where the predator had fallen. Remember this day. You feared the predator above all. But now you know the truth, humans are its rival. With that, she strode from the chamber, her soldiers following. The human fleet, battered yet victorious, broke formation and vanished into the stars. The council remained, broken and trembling, their power hollow. And across the galaxy the story would spread. The predator above all had been defeated. And humanity had proven themselves the deadliest predators of all.